'Twas late in the 50s, enacting a plan, when troubles were started and problems began. The Communist Party of China would say, collectivization's the word of the day. We've had it with former proceedings, said Mao. It's time for a leap to the here and now. And if there's resistance, he thought to explain, we'll purge up with the fair anti-rightist campaign. Exclusive production is bad for the soul. And isn't it better to work as a whole? It's truly unruly and duly I feel. We're better investing in grains and in steel. Let's shake up and make up a future, my friends. And when the adventure succeeds in its ends, we'll build a new China, he said with a sigh. Of course though, a shitload of people will die. Greetings everyone, Danny here and welcome to episode 10 of our Ask Reddit series. In today's episode, we're reading the answer to the question, which is the worst single decision in history ever made by a person? This question was asked by Benemir. Let's go. How about the guy who bought 20,000 Albanian slaves, brought them to Cairo, trained them to be the greatest warriors of their time, and then got overthrown by said slave warriors because they were so well trained? Timesuck podcast about Napoleon is where I got this from. It's a good one if you have an hour to listen. Warning, task failed successfully. Thank you for the gold and silver. You and the main comment really did make my day. I wish I could give you both gold, but I didn't make good decisions to get rich. Thanks for the silver, kind stranger. Alan Savory, the ecologist who killed 40,000 elephants because it was believed that grazing was causing the desertification of Africa, only to find out later that elephants were essential to prevent desertification. In a thread filled with all sorts of villains and dumb fluffs, this is the one dude who's making me disproportionately mad. You'd be happy to know that he learned from his mistake and went on to create an elephant sanctuary, if I recall correctly. He's the leader in regenerative agriculture movement now, working to educate people about the necessity of ruminants for a healthy grassland. Well, the decision of Inalchuk, the governor of the Khwarezmian city of Otrar, to attack Genghis Khan's trade caravan was pretty bad. Khan was famous as a ruthless warlord, not the sort of guy you want to piss off. But maybe they could have gotten away with it. Genghis sent 3 ambassadors to negotiate a settlement, which is when Muhammad II, the Shah of Khwarezm, made the really bad decision to kill one of those ambassadors and send the other 2 back without their beards as a sign of humiliation. Genghis Khan was so enraged, he assembled an army and destroyed the Khwarezmian Empire, wiped out every town they had. He even rerouted a river to wipe out the village where the Shah was born, wiping it off the map. By 1120 there wasn't much anything left. So both Inalchuk and Muhammad II of Khwarezm qualified. Take your pick. Alright gentlemen, we've successfully fended off the Greeks for 10 years. Our great city of Troy still stands. If we keep this up, surely they will realize the siege is fruitless and return home before long. Yo captain, there's a big ass wooden horse outside. Alright, bring it in. To be fair to the Trojans, there wasn't all that much they could do because the gods had essentially made up their minds. Laocoon was like, hey, this is a bad idea, and then got eaten by a giant water monster. The Trojans kind of took that as a sign that the gods clearly wanted them to bring the horse in. Plus Cassandra protested, but you know, cursed by Apollo and all that. And the Trojans were probably fluffed regardless, since Hector was dead and Achilles was back in the fighting. And extra mad because Patroclus was dead, the horse was just a death blow. Sorry, I got the timeline mixed up. Achilles was already dead at this point. Still, without Hector, the Trojans really didn't have much of a chance, especially since the Greeks had formidable soldiers who weren't Achilles, Agamemnon, Menelaus, etc. In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and had been widely regarded as a bad move. Could I interest you in a towel in these trying times? What the fluff is this edit? What OP is referencing is the first line in the book Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. In that book, the characters are constantly told to never be without their towel. As a running gag, I took the line from Danny DeVito, can I interest you in an egg in these trying times? And edited the egg for a towel, as a reference to the running gag. Robert Ballard, one of the guys who discovered Titanic, says that his biggest regret is that he and Jean-Louis Michel didn't bring a piece of the Titanic up with him when he first discovered it in 1985. At the time, they didn't want to disturb the wreck and leave it pristine, but if they had done so, then they would have been able to claim legal ownership of the wreck under international maritime law and therefore more control over it. Because they chose not to do that, everyone and their grandma is free to take artifacts and pieces of the wreck, and this makes preservation impossible. A fair number of people have been asking this in the comments, so instead of replying to everyone individually, I thought I'd put this in as an edit, and thanks to the commenters who helped explain this. There is a school of thought which Robert Ballard and myself incidentally subscribe to, which is that the wreck is the final resting place of more than 1500 souls who perished that cold night on 14 April 1912 and must therefore be treated with the same respect and dignity. Private companies who take artifacts and pieces of the wreck and sell them for profit are effectively grave robbing, and while the wreck is gradually deteriorating into nothing, the argument is that this doesn't matter, it's just nature taking its course. Of course, there's an argument that removing certain artifacts from the wreck and putting them in a museum is conducive to both the public good and the memory of the victims. I don't have a problem with that personally, and I can't speak for Robert, but I do have a problem with the commercial scavengers taking pieces up to sell them. My understanding is that if he and his were registered owners of the wreck, he would have a claim to anything taken from the wreck and sold for profit, which would potentially deter people. Eastman Kodak decided not to go forward with their own newly invented digital cameras and instead sticking with film, because it made them so much more money at the time. Isn't the real shit decision that the guy who invented the digital camera in 1975 at Kodak wanted to let Kodak patent it? And they said, nah, who's going to get into these things? I got married in 1990. I remember our wedding photographer explaining the direction of photography and the coming extinction of film. I figured he must be crazy and I doubled my investments in desktop calculators instead. Nice. Either the Great Leap Forward or the time I had gas station sushi. Ah, the Great Sit Downward. This is not an award speech edit, but if it were, I would say, I'd like to thank Reddit, kind strangers, and my dog. The donor party of 90 pioneers choosing to take a shortcut when heading west from Illinois to California in 1846. Said shortcut led to them getting trapped in the Sierra Nevada mountains and resorting to cannibalism. The donor party stupidly chose to take the shortcut that was sold to them by a con man over strenuous objections of serious and thoughtful pioneer guides. History repeats itself. Yup, he tricked them into blazing the trail, and by blazing the trail I mean spending 2 weeks to move a few miles because you have to cut down every tree in your way. Oregon Trail doesn't do justice to how hard it is to move covered wagons, especially over mountains. Going downhill is a nightmare. Do you think oxen can walk backwards? The decision by the Scottish to invade England during Black Death must be up there. Scotland have made a lot of very stupid decisions in its past, like that time we kicked out half the population. Most of them went to Australia, New Zealand, the USA or Canada, which is why there are so many people with Scottish heritage there. Mao Zedong's revolutionary campaign, the Great Leap Forward, resulting in millions of people starving to death. Mao's Great Leap down the staircase, more like. It was late in the 50s, enacting a plan, when troubles were started and problems began. The Communist Party of China would say, collectivization's the word of the day. We've had it with former proceedings, said Mao, it's time for a leap to the here and now, and if there's resistance, he thought to explain, we'll purge up with the fair anti-rightist campaign. Exclusive production is bad for the soul, and isn't it better to work as a whole? It's truly unruly, and duly I feel, we're better investing in grains and in steel. Let's shake up and make up a future, my friends, and when the adventure succeeds in its ends, we'll build a new China, he said with a sigh. Of course though, a shitload of people will die. Yahoo refused to buy Google for 1 million and later 40 billion again, what? They refused 1 million later, offered 3 billion and Google wanted 5 billion, so no deal. And Yahoo was offered 40 billion by Microsoft and they didn't want to sell, and later they sold for 4.6 billion. If they bought it for 1 million they would have destroyed it though. Can't disagree. Knowing Yahoo, yup, they would have. Let's invade Russia must somewhere be up the list. Twice. Except for Genghis Khan. He came from the east, cheetah. I'm going to do what's called a pro gamer move. Now You See Me sequel not being called Now You Don't. Bravo, I wish I could give you gold. That's genius. Oh man, I've been saying this for ages. Hitler said, who wants to fight a two-front war? Hitler was well aware of this, which is why he dealt with France first. In his opinion, it was always about a war in the East. Hitler didn't play Risk as a child. Everyone knows you can't hold on to Asia. 7 extra guys at the start of every round, but you can never hold on to it. It's because you have so many border territories, but if you take the territories right outside it as well as you can defend much less ground, just start by invading Ukraine from Russia and then wait a minute. The first human by deciding to not live in a tree. And honestly, I'm still not entirely sold on this whole leaving the oceans thing. I still remember the day as a very young child I realized that no matter how hard I tried, I would never be able to breathe underwater and so could never, ever be a mermaid. I started to cry and told my mom it was because I could only breathe air. Every time I see posted by toddlers crying about ridiculous things, I think back to the intense genuine heartbreak of that moment and I get it. Alright, and with that heartbreaking story, I'll end the video for today. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I had fun making it. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel as I will greatly appreciate your support and I'll be making daily videos. As always, credit to the redditors and their comments will be in the description box below. Thank you all for watching, until tomorrow.